So the first speaker of the day is Stanley Ngugi. So Stanley is sorry, there's something wrong with my screen, but yes, no, you're okay. So Stanley is the Director of People at Busara Center for Behavioral Economics. So he'll be sharing tips on how you can be able to make smart career goals, especially during this period. So Stanley, I'll leave the floor to you.
It's really, really good to be here. Thanks for giving me this opportunity this morning to talk about career goals and how to set them in a smart way. So maybe what I'll do is I'll first give you a small intro about who I am and how I came to be invited to kind of like speak at this webinar, what I do, and then maybe go into a presentation or a small slide presentation that I'll share, which will be mainly talking points about how to actually set smart goals. And within that time, we're actually going to maybe try and set some goals, or actually write down some few statements that are career focused. The other thing I would like to mention is that there is a specific lean towards what does it look like to set goals during this COVID time, which is very difficult for many people, especially, I'm going to say especially in the career space, but everywhere. Busara just released a bit of research saying that about 80% of Kenyans are actually affected economically because of COVID-related economic impact. So it's a big thing that's happening to all of us, and I'm glad that we're actually able to kind of talk about this now. I'll also ask for comments to be put up on the chat as we go along. Please feel free to contribute. Any thoughts are coming to your mind and any questions you may have. Wendy and the team at Centonomy are actually tracking that. So if, Wendy, you'll allow me to share my screen.
Yes, go ahead.
I think you may have to unshare yours. Excellent. I hope that everyone is able to see the screen.
Yeah.
Excellent. So today we're going to be talking about smart career goals during COVID-19. What maybe, and this is kind of going to be what slide is going to be kind of like the guide of how we have this conversation. We're going to start by discussing what does smart actually mean, and then we're going to go and see how does that relate to goal setting during this COVID period, and we're going to have this conversation for the next maybe 20 minutes with some activities in between. So the first step is asking, let me just try and figure out this technology. What does smart goals mean? And I'm gonna ask that you put in the chat function in the chat box there, what do you think the S stands for? M-A-R-T, and then I'll ask Wendy to read out. Don't worry if you're guessing. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think S-M-A-R-T means?
So Stanley, we have Nancy Mikia saying S, specific, measurable, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Oh. That is from Winnie Kahara. Oh. Kim says all specific and measurable. Yes. Kim says it's specific and measurable. Yeah. Ian says it's simple, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Nyambura says specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound. Someone from Facebook as well says it is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. Thank you so much, Maria from Facebook. So also feel free, our Facebook audience, to just give your comments on the comment section on Facebook, give your questions, suggestions, and we'll be able to just read them out to the speakers as well. So Jemima says, it is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound. Yes, generally those are the answers.
Yeah, so great. Then I think we can end the session there because everyone seems to know what this is. But I'm going to.
It was about how you look.
Mwenesi, that's your deal, man. I'm really wanting to hear what you say about being smart.
Yeah, I'm seeing all these specific, measurable. What I thought it was about how you look, but anyway, carry on.
Awesome. So all of you are primarily right. It is about goals being very specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, realistic, and of course, time-bound. Now, a lot of people know what this is, right? The question is, what does it look like in reality? How does this goal setting actually look like? Beyond knowing the acronym, beyond knowing it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound, what does it mean? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a goal, and then we are just going to walk through that goal, and we are going to add the SMART so that you can see what it looks like to move a goal from very vague to kind of very smart. Now, the reason that we want to not have goals that are too broad is because it doesn't give us the opportunity to turn those goals into action. And in times of COVID and in our careers, this is the time for action. So this is the sentence, okay? So how do we make it smart? This is a very normal goal that people have in their careers. I should improve this year. Is this goal smart? Opening the comment section and the chat box. Is it smart? I see some comments coming in. No. It's not smart. It's like very...
That's definitely not.
A lot of agreement there, consensus coming in. That's not so. So let's make it smart. So let's make it a bit more specific, right? Specificity would be around this. Oh. What do you want to improve? I want to improve the financial processes. Maybe you work in an accounts team or maybe in the finance department. This is somehow a bit more specific. It's not just I want to improve anything. It's actually specific to one thing, the thing that I am targeting, right? And then we want to take it one step further and say, what can we make it a bit more specific? I want to improve the speed and accuracy of financial processes. So now we are kind of now properly in the realm of this is a bit, it has an S now, right? How do we make it measurable? We have to put a number on it. I should improve the speed and accuracy of financial processes by 50%. So now we have a goal that's both specific and measurable. So in your own career goal setting, I want you to start thinking about what are the tangible things that you would be able to measure so that you know that you're actually moving within your objective, within your goal. Otherwise, if you say, I really hope to improve, or I hope to lose weight, for example, it should be, I hope to lose 10 kgs of weight, though the coronavirus and staying at home sometimes can make that difficult. But then one may say, that this goal is maybe too ambitious. Is it achievable? Is it something that I can do within the next month or 2 months or 3 months or 1 year? 50% may be too much. So someone may say, to make it a bit more achievable and realistic, I'm going to downgrade that from 50% to 20% because then it makes a bit more sense. It's something that can be done. Now, you know, currently the prevailing world philosophies are around setting very high and lofty goals of wanting to be billionaires or wanting to go to the moon and all that. But a part of goal setting is about understanding what is achievable within X duration of time or within your actual circumstances. So for me, I'm more of like set goals that will stretch you, that are not too comfortable, but then that are, you know, when a goal is too big, it becomes, it works in the opposite in terms of motivation. It may actually like demotivate you because it seems too big to achieve. So there we've kind of tried to make the goal a bit more attainable or achievable and realistic. And finally, we want to add an element of time to it. I should improve the speed and accuracy of financial processes by 50% by Q1 of 2019. Or for example, I should say it should be 20% within the next quarter or something like that. So by adding an element of time to it, you are actually able to say, okay, by this deadline, I should have achieved this much. So I'm going to stop there and see whether there are any quick questions, like have we understood how to move something from very vague to smart? That's the question I'm posing to everyone on Facebook and on the chat function. And maybe even more interesting, I want you to comment or put in the chat function what has been the most striking point for you. What is the most important point that you've learned so far about setting these SMART goals? That way we can learn from each other. So I'm just gonna open up that chat function and ask Wendy to read out any comments that are coming out.
Yes, as Stanley has said, what is the most important part that has stood out for you? So feel free to put your comments on the chat box as well on the comment section on Facebook, and I'll be able to read out the comments for Stanley as we continue with the session. So Stanley, we have Ngafa Dominic who says to set realistic goals. John Kiragu, I think the moving as a process is a key point you have made so far. Grace Geran says, great insights here, the realistic parts. Ian says, how do you know this is too much, that it will not stretch you out? So what is too much in this particular case? Yes, that's from, yeah, those are the comments as per now. Oh, yes. Elizabeth also says, please give an example of how to do it for career, e.g. I want to get a job. How can I be smart in getting a job?
Yes. Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes,
awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me try and just jump in on one or two of those. Yes, in terms of realistic, this is very specific to you. You want to look at what are the resources that you have right now. Right? Do you have a course that you can study? Do you have a specific budget in mind? Do you have a specific time that you can dedicate to this goal? And this is what tells you whether something is achievable or not achievable. For example, if you are working on a full-time basis and you want to for example, do a full-time master's program during the day, that may be difficult to do. What may be possible is doing one in the evening or online. That's how you measure. You have to look at what are the resources that are available to me that I can use. In terms of a goal that is more career-oriented, if someone say, I don't have a job, a vague goal may be, this week I'm going to invest a lot of time looking for a job. Right? That's a vague goal. A smart goal would be, so I'm asking this as a question to the audience so that we try and practice ourselves. If the vague goal is, I am looking for a job this week, what would be a smart way to put that goal? So I'm gonna ask you to put it in the chat function in the comment section. How do we turn this vague goal into a smart goal? Before I give you my own response.
So how do we turn this vague goal to a smart goal?
Yeah, I am looking for a job this week.
So Hannah Musau says, I will apply. Sorry, Hannah Musau says, I will apply for 5 jobs this week. Geran says, I will apply for 10 jobs in the next 20 days. Reheman Deda says, I will make 5 job applications in the HR sector every day this week. Jemima says, apply for several jobs. Vincent, this week I will visit a management training consultancy and volunteer my skills. User says to have some companies you are targeting. Patricia Courier, knowing where I will send the CVs. Sarah Jane says apply the job in different companies.
Yes. Okay, so now you can see there's a slight move towards making it a bit more smart. For example, one may say, I will update my LinkedIn profile to be 30% better by the end of this week, right? So that's a very concrete goal that you can say by the end of this, I must have improved this part of my LinkedIn. I will reach out to 5 HR recruiters on within my networks or within LinkedIn over the next 2 weeks, right? I will schedule a virtual meeting with a potential employer to learn more about the jobs that they are having available by the end of the week. So that gives you like very clear direction on what am I doing, as opposed to I am looking for, yeah. I like that one of I will update all my social media platforms. Very important, right? Yeah. So I will update them by when, and what will be the goal of the updating? It's to kind of like clean up your profile there. So it looks like we're kind of getting it. So I want to kind of move on so that I show you the next bit. I've spoken about, I hope you can see my screen now. Oops,
yes, no. Just.
Wrong button. There we go.
Yeah, perfect.
We spoke about being smart. And as you can see, I've updated that last sentence. I should improve the speed and accuracy of financial processes by 20% by the end of Q3. Just to kind of like show you what the final sentence would look like. So at the end of this session, I'm going to share this presentation with Wendy, and you can reach out to her to give you a copy so that you can actually frame your conversations, or rather your goals, in this way. I want to add another one. Many people know about SMART goals, but we want to be more than smart. We want to be smarter, okay? So what do you think the R stands for? Again, comment section, chat function, guess. This one you may or may not know.
So yes, what do you think the R stands for? So you have responsible, responsive.
Oh, wow.
Reflect and review, ready, resourceful, resilient, research.
Some of your R's are better than mine.
Reactive, relevant, realistic, yes, relatable, reach out, relevant again, retainable, review.
Those are really nice R's. Can I show you mine?
Readjust, yes, go ahead.
Be responsive. A goal that's not responsive just makes you busy, which means that you may have goals, but if they are not in alignment to what is happening in the current circumstances. If, for example, your job search is not looking for jobs that are still relevant and responsive to COVID-19, or if your efforts in the workplace, if you're still employed, if they are not focusing on the direction that your organization is in, it'll just make you really busy, but you're not actually moving or securing yourself within your career. And what should we be responsive towards? We should be responsive towards opportunities. So in every instance where there is turmoil, where there is difficulty, there's always going to be opportunities that are coming up out of it. For example, I was talking to someone a few weeks ago who said that in their organization, they'd never heard of Zoom. They'd never used these video conferencing tools before. And they immediately saw that opportunity as to be the Zoom guy, the person who teaches people how to use this tool within the organization. So the question to you that I'd like to hear your very quick comments on, maybe 1 or 2, is what do you think is the impact for that person once they see this opportunity? What do you think is the impact when their organization observes that this person is trying to fit into the new circumstances. I would be very interested in hearing your comments in the chat function there.
Okay, so give us your comments. You can also raise up your hand and we'll go to unmute you. We want to hear your lovely voices. So let us know. Frank Olwenda says he is bringing value.
Yeah,
that's what Frank says.
That's what I am asking everyone who is on this webinar to start thinking about. By being responsive, you bring more value. Whether you are already in a job or you're searching. For example, that person who spoke about going to volunteer, that's a really great way of demonstrating value. That's why a lot of people are actually hired from internships and volunteerships. It's because this person has demonstrated that they can bring value to the organization. So, I want us to take a couple of minutes as we wind up this first part of the webinar, and maybe allow for a couple of questions. Now that you've understood how to make SMART goals and understood that the main aim is to become valuable, and you can become valuable by being responsive to the needs of your organization, I want us to practice in your own career. Pick an opportunity that you can respond to in your workplace or in your job search. And this could be new products that the organization is developing. How can you participate in that? New opportunities, volunteering at work, taking up additional tasks, coming up with new initiatives and helping people with new technology. Any opportunity that you think that you can kind of take advantage of during this COVID time. Create one SMART goal and then share it in the chat box. You don't have to make it too personal. We're just looking for examples just so that we can see that you know how to make the goal SMART. And just so that we are very clear, we are looking for a sentence like this last one. I should improve the speed and accuracy of financial processes by 50% at the end of Q1 of 2019. It has to be very specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. It must have a time limit on it. So I want to give us a couple of minutes and hope that a few people just post their mock goals in that chat function, and I'll see whether Wendy can also read out a couple of those. Wendy?
Okay, perfect. So we'll give you guys probably 1 minute, one to 2 minutes for you to be able to just create that. Also, if you think that typing is too hard or it's cumbersome or tiresome, you can raise your hand and I'll be able to unmute you so that you can be able to hear your voice and hear your SMART goal. Okay, so I have Nyambura. Nyambura, I'd like to unmute you, if that's okay. Just a minute so that you can give us. Nyambura, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Nyambura. Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, because now I'm trying to start a consultancy, I've been working towards my goal, but my goal is to pursue at least 3 short courses related to what I want to do, be done within the end of 3 months, and have attended at least 10 networking events online to get my word out there, to get people talking.
Awesome, Nyambura. Those are really, really great goals. The only thing I would encourage is then to split them out, right? So that you can even start transitioning those goals into some sort of work plan, right? How are you, so that you know, this is how I'm going to achieve each of those goals. Because what I've heard is about 3 or 4 really great goals, very well crafted. Thank you so much, Nyambura.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nyambura. So I have Nancy saying I should finish two short courses aligned with my career by the end of 2020. Fantastic, Nancy. I think Centonomy Career Hub will be able to assist you with that. We have Ian who says I should add value to myself by taking at least 3 short courses before the end of COVID-19. We have Caroline who says, I would like to finally take a step towards learning forex trading and become a trader and stop procrastinating. Jackie says, I should create and share mental health awareness posters for our workplace by the end of next week.
Oh, yes. I really like that one, because this is a person who is thinking about even where you are now.
Yes.
You know, what can you add value? Something in addition to what you already do.
That's true. That's true. We have Vincent saying, I should be able to conduct creative writing lessons for at least 10 learners twice every week on Tuesday and Saturday via Zoom classes. Perfect. Great. Fantastic. Those are the responses so far.
Let me share back my my screen here so that we can finish this off. I hope everyone is able to see that screen. So again, as I said, your goal should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And what you want to really focus on, the goal of all of this, let me say, the goal of all of this is for you to be adding value to organization. Even if you are outside of an organization, you can find ways to add value to an organization by reaching out to them, offering your services, offering your time. I know, for example, there are organizations out there like, you can go and look at our website called shortlist.net, which is a company based here in Kenya that actually has a portal for people who want to volunteer their services during this COVID time for, their virtual services. So there are so many opportunities out there for you to actually move your career goals forward. Because right now, what organizations are looking for are people who are responsive, people who kind of are seeing the opportunities that are coming out, and they are kind of contributing in different ways to help move organizations forward. So this is not the time to put your career in the back burner. It's actually time to work to secure it a bit more. I'm actually very happy to hear people talking about, that they're going to invest in learning opportunities. This is the best time to invest in learning opportunities because a lot is being done virtually, and this movement towards learning through virtual is actually going to help a lot of people improve in their careers. So I'm going to just stop there and ask if anyone has any questions. Perhaps we can take a few questions before we hand over to Mwenesi, who will then talk about something that I've alluded to around how reaching out to and building your social network and building your brand can actually support your career growth during this time of COVID, which I think is very, very important. So I'm just going to open it up to a couple of questions.
So as Tandy has mentioned, feel free to give your questions on the chat box. Also, you can be able to raise your hand and I'll be able to unmute you. Stanley Hannah says, please repeat the name of the volunteering website that you just mentioned.
The organization, this is a recruiting firm based here in, actually they're based in India and Kenya. Shortlist, like a shortlist, shortlist.net. You can go to their social media sites as well. They are offering, they are helping to connect people who have the time to volunteer and they have specific skills.
Great, great. John Kirago says, could you kindly give a short comment a bit about long-term career planning?
Well, I think that the principles remain the same, right? I think that in terms of long-term career planning, what you want to have is something that you're working towards. And what I always tell people is that you should be working to find out what your strengths are during this time of COVID and beyond, because ultimately the more you work within your strengths, the more you'll be able to perform very well in your organization, and the more you'll be able to actually kind of grow, so that it kind of like matures into something that's not just money, but actually ultimately becomes something that's a bit more fulfilling. But your strengths actually have to be combined within the context of how you display them using your personal brand, and how you use social networking, social capital and networking to kind of reach out and get opportunities. Now, I'm not the expert on this, Mwenesi is, but I do want to say that this element of social capital is very important. The fact that opportunities are held by people. And so the more people you reach out to, the better. And in the principle of social capital is demonstrate value first before you ask for anything. But I'll leave that to Mwenesi to kind of like explore a bit further. Or if he's open to comment, he can.
Okay. So Mwenesi, do you want to comment right now or during your time?
Yeah, I think I'll look at that when I get into it. But that's a fantastic question, because yeah, once you understand who you are and what your environment is, then you can understand what resources are available to you and what strengths that you have that you can start to take advantage, so that you can capitalize on the opportunities that present themselves. So I'll get into that in more detail when I start my session.
Okay,
awesome.
Fantastic. So Kim also asked, what happens when you have SMART goals, but in between, like now COVID happens, do you, what happens now? Do you like change them?
Yeah.
What happens? Oh,
that's a really, really great question. In all of this, the reason that we learn or want to learn how to set SMART goals, or should I say smarter goals, is we want to make sure that because circumstances change, right? So one day in January, if you had asked me that we'd all be working remote, I'd have said that you're crazy. But the circumstances have changed. The reason we learn how to set SMART goals is so that when circumstances change, you can change your goals. So sometimes there's this thing of feeling that once I set a goal, I am forever stuck to it. Once I say that in 5 years, I want to see myself as the CEO, that can never change. That's not true. You can't change. If I can give my own example, many years ago when I was in school, I imagined being a lawyer, and I did go and study the law. But ultimately, when I went into the job market, I realized that where my strengths were really around people and HR and helping people to thrive. And the way I found to do that is to work as a trainer, right? And for a time, I trained in different organizations. But then over time, I've also realized that my goal and my desire to see people thrive in the workplace can actually be transferred into being in a leadership role in the HR space, in the people and culture space. So as you can see, the goal is evolving with the circumstances, and the goal is evolving even as you learn more about yourself and who you are. So absolutely open. You should be reviewing your goals on a regular basis.
Okay, that's a good point to note, that we should be able to review our goals on a regular basis. So Willie says, would recommend the compound effect as a complement to SMART. So these days is we are not making SMART goals, people, we are making SMART R goals. We have Life Pillar saying, how do you navigate social capital that may not be very open to your product or service and keep influenced by cultural norms? I believe Mwenesi will be able to take us through that. Yeah. Jerry says, do you help people with investments or business ideas, especially in people with formal employment? So for that, I will definitely recommend the Centonomy 101 program that we have. We can be able to share with you more details. Jerry, you can get in touch with me. I'll be able to just share with you more details on that. Then we have really saying compound effect, meaning small, consistent action with greater payoffs. Jerry Chege says, Who Moved My Cheese is a good read about changing and adapting to change. And just speaking about really relevant books, Stanley, which kind of book do you think you'll advise our audience today to read to also help them with their careers at this particular transition period?
Okay, let me first comment on, with your permission, Wendy, on the comment on the compounding effect.
Yes.
Now, most people think about the compounding effect as something that you do in mathematics or in financial investing, but it's actually very applicable to careers as well. And it's this thought of making small and incremental changes that continue building and growing pole. So, which means this course that you take now is going to actually help to boost you significantly in the future. It may be a small shift now. It may be a small investment that you do now. But it's actually going to build over and over. So to think about compounding more broadly, and I didn't catch the name of the person who said it, but Willie, that's a really great comment and a good way to think about it. A couple of books you may want to read. The first one, of course, is one that has been mentioned there, which is Who Moved My Cheese? Great read. For those of us who are in management, you may want to look at the 1 Minute Manager. I'm not giving the authors now because I may mispronounce their names, but you can Google. The 1 Minute Manager is a great read for those in management. There's a really great book that I read about two or 3 months ago called The Rules of Work. The Rules of Work, which is kind of like what are the fundamental ways that you can work and make yourself successful in the workplace beyond being really good at your job. So the rules of work. For those of us who have difficult bosses, for those of us who are in the process of learning more about emotional intelligence, you may want to read a very interesting book called The Chimp Paradox. The Chimp Paradox. Chimp is as in chimpanzee. Really great book on how to think about managing your emotional states while in the workplace. So now we are becoming really kind of like more about emotional intelligence, more about professionalism in the workplace. So the Chimp Paradox is one that I would highly recommend. And finally, very important is growth mindset, or rather mindset. I think that it's Carol Dweck. There's a very good TED talk about growth mindset on YouTube that you can see if you don't have time to read the whole book. And it's about what is this mindset that we need that propels people into growth, not only just in their careers, but in their lives. Very, very good read, highly recommended to everyone here. So those are just a few. Don't bombard people with my library.
Amazing, amazing. Someone else says How to Win Friends and Influence People is a good book. Thank you so much for that suggestion.
Messi must have something to say about that one.
Clearly, the way he's nodding, definitely.
Like, yeah.
Esther says Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. It will teach you on how perspective matters when viewing an obstacle or an opportunity. And then Willie says, yes, Carol Dweck, so he's definitely agreeing. So thank you, Stanley, so much for that amazing session. I don't know if there's anyone else with a comment or suggestion or a question before we release Stanley. Yes, just more suggestions on the book. That's from Dennis Bett and Winnie Kahara, both saying The Richest Man in Babylon, as well as Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Amazing, amazing. So thank you so much, Stanley, for that amazing session. So feel free to get in touch with Stanley. Stanley, do you mind sharing your email address? If that is okay, should they have more questions? If not, they can get in touch through me, and then I'll be able to connect you guys to him.
Yeah. Actually, for those of you who'd love to connect with me, I because I work in that HR space, actually remember I didn't introduce myself at all. I currently working as the director of people for Busara, which is a research and advisory firm with 5 offices across the world. And I lead the people function. That's people, culture, recruitment, learning and development. I have a real passion for helping people to grow. I'm currently practicing that passion with Busara. The best way to reach out to me is via LinkedIn. Then I can see your professional profiles very nicely. So if you look for me, that's Stanley Ngugi, and then it's the Stanley that works at Busara. That would be a great way to kind of connect in a professional way. The person who just said, "Eat that frog," that's also on my bookshelf here. Very, very good, very, very good read, and it's like very short and very impactful, especially about how to turn those goals into action. And it talks about eating the frog, which is doing that thing that you hate the most fast. Do it fast in the morning, get rid of it. So it's like a very good principle. Eat that frog.
Fantastic, fantastic. I know, Stanley, you've been able to mention about LinkedIn. And my question would be is, how can you relate LinkedIn and making smart goals, especially if someone wants to advance in their careers?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn should be a tool for advancing your goals, especially getting yourself out there, right? LinkedIn is where people are going to look at professionals. Us in the HR space are more and more relying on LinkedIn as a tool to view people. So there's a lot of information out there about how to improve your LinkedIn profile. I think if you haven't updated your LinkedIn in a while, even for us who are starting consultancy businesses and so on, people are still looking at your LinkedIn. So it's a very, very, very powerful tool to craft a very nice professional brand, and I think maybe even Mwenesi may touch on that. So for me, LinkedIn is now kind of like a must-have, and you even populate it as much as you populate your Instagram or TikTok, for that matter.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much for those great insights, Mr. Stanley Ngugi there. So now we'll go to the second section, whereby we'll have the amazing Mr. Musalia Mwenesi. So Musalia is an image consultant and also the lead trainer of the Centonomy Career Hub program. Mr. Musalia, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Wendy, and awesome listening to my good friend Stanley. We miss you, buddy. COVID ikisha, I'll look for you.
Well,
you know, that's the new Kenyan proverb. Let this corona finish. But yeah, just to jump in and quickly talk about myself and what we do at the Centonomy Career Hub. I am a performance coach and image consultant. I help people become better versions of themselves. I have been working with Centonomy for a couple of years now. I've worked with Stanley as well in that capacity. And my whole ethos is to look at how people can actually advance themselves in whatever it is that they're doing, whether they're trying to be entrepreneurs, whether they want to climb the corporate ladder, whether they want to change careers, whether they are, you know, thinking about advancing in whatever direction or stage of their lives. I'm all about helping people make that move. And what I'm going to talk about today will be snippets of what you can expect in the Centonomy Career Hub program. The Centonomy Career Hub program is something that we started a couple of years ago. Stanley was part of that process and part of that journey. And it has evolved over time to now where people are coming not just as employees, but they're also coming as managers who want to learn how to manage their employees, how people can engage with one another, and just basically improve your personal development as well. And so what I'm going to talk about today, pivoting off the SMART goals that Stanley has talked about, is how can you now make the most of those SMART goals in the context of building your personal brand and enhancing your social capital, which are very, very important things if you want to make that quantum leap. I'm not saying you can't do it without a personal brand and without social capital, but it helps if you have these things. So there are going to be a couple of points that I will take guys through. So feel free to just comment and put your inputs in the chat section. Raise your hand in case you want Wendy to unmute you and you can interact with me. And I will go through them step by step. And you know, hopefully we should be done in enough time where we can actually do some Q&A. My very first thing that I always ask people to do is, what gets you up in the morning? Ask yourself that. What is your desire? Because when you look at it, you cannot move. You cannot act or create anything or move from procrastination to action unless you have a very specific desire that ties in with your SMART goals. What is your incentive for doing stuff? What are the things that you like? What are the things that you want and what are the things that you need? Because if you have that in your mind, then those become the foundations on which you will build your SMART goals. Your SMART goals need to be driven by your desires. And regardless of corona or epidemics or lockdowns or anything like that, once you know that truly, 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 you need a certain thing. For example, if I was to fall sick right now, it won't matter that there's corona, it won't matter that there is, you know, a lockdown. I need to get help, I need to get treated, because it has become a sense of urgency. And you will find that regardless of the circumstances, I will do everything in my power to try and control the outcome of me getting better. Do you take that same urgency with your career, with your job, with your objective, with your SMART goal? So like I was reading some of the comments here, people are talking about, you know, I want to apply for 20 jobs in 2 weeks or whatever it is. Okay, how urgent are those jobs? Because the thing that separates the winners and the losers truly are the people, is that critical thing called desire, right? I make so much allusion to this book, and people are asking about books that influence them. The one book that I've quoted numerously, I will continue to quote it, is a book by Alistair Campbell. It's called Winners. Winners is a study of different people who have done, you know, remarkable things in their spaces, from sports people to celebrities to entrepreneurs to people in politics, you name it, across the board. It analyzes and profiles people who are winning, and it has found that the people who are winning in life are those who are able to truly follow their desires religiously, and they do not make excuses about, oh, there's COVID, or there's this. All they know is, I have an objective, I have a SMART goal, I have an end game. But to that end game, there's so many ways that I can get to that end game. If I was to equate the end game, the SMART goal, to me being in Mombasa, let's say next week, Tuesday. If I truly need to get to Mombasa by next week, Tuesday, today being Saturday, the 30th of May. If I need to get to Mombasa by next week, Tuesday, Mombasa, 12 p.m. At a certain time, at a certain place, at a certain venue, that is my objective, regardless. So between today, Saturday, and Tuesday, 12 p.m., what are the things and avenues available to me as Mwenesi sitting here, knowing that there's lockdown, knowing that there's corona, knowing that we've been blocked from moving around? If I absolutely, absolutely have to get to Mombasa by Tuesday, 12 p.m., what ways are available? Can I fly there? Can I take an SGR? Can I walk? Can I drive? Can I take a bus? What avenues are available to me? Okay, but if it is critical that I get to Mombasa, no amount of anything will stop me, because I then should be able to go and negotiate with some people in government and give them a valid reason or some justification why they need to give me a letter or allow me to cross those borders, because that is what successful people do. In the face of difficult situations and challenges, their incentive for making it overrides the difficulty. So like I said, if I'm sick and I absolutely need to get help, it doesn't matter. That becomes the priority, and I move with a sense of purpose and with a sense of urgency. I want to challenge everybody who is here in this session today. Are your SMART goals urgent? Are they things that you like? Because something that you like is something that, it would be nice to have, it's okay, it's nice, you know. Is it something that you want, which means that it is a desire which also has action attached to it? Or is it something that you need? Because the difference between what you like, what you want, and what you need, a need is something that will happen at all costs. It becomes urgent. And once that thing becomes urgent, then nothing around you will stop you. You start to think creatively. And that is the beauty of the human mind. The human mind has the ability to stretch itself. The same way you can go to the gym and you know, lift weights and do cardio and increase your performance, is the same way you can increase the performance of your mental capacity to think creatively, to think outside of the box. As opposed to sitting and waiting for things to happen for you, successful people make things happen for themselves. Life does not happen to successful people. Successful people happen to life. So that is my first thing to you. I want people to really find out, what exactly is it that is driving you? What is your motivating factor? Because that is what will distinguish you from whether you make it or not. It doesn't matter how many goals you set. If you don't have something that is driving those goals, you don't have the fuel that is moving that engine, then it will become very, very difficult. You'll always find an excuse. Well, I need to be in Mombasa by Tuesday, but the government, also, there are no flights, or, meanwhile, someone who really has to be there will go find a doctor friend of theirs and say, look, we're part of this medical team. It's urgent that we get there. Let's go. That's the distinguishing factor. So number one, for everybody who's on the session, what is your engine? What is your motivation? What is your incentive to achieve your SMART goal? Look inside yourself and discover what that thing is, because without that, it doesn't matter how many goals you set for yourself, it's not going to be possible to accomplish those things. For me, the second aspect that I would encourage everybody to look at, even as you're thinking about making your SMART career moves, is to understand yourself and understand your environment so that you know what resources are available to you. We don't live in the same neighborhood. We didn't go to the same schools. We don't have the same family. We didn't have the same social upbringing, the same religion, we are different people. But for you, where you are sitting right now, who are you? And what resources are available to you in your environment? And the resources here are four. The first resource is obviously money. Everyone knows that, I have to look at myself realistically and say, okay, how much money do I actually have so that this goal, this target that I've set for myself, this SMART realistic goal, do I have the financial muscle or capacity to actually achieve that target? The second resource that we're talking about in terms of you looking at your resources is the people around you. These people around me, what skills, what talents, what capabilities do they have that can help me? And this is where, we in Centonomy Career Hub, we teach you to think about yourself, not just as an individual, but as the tip of the spear in your environment, where there are resources available to you that you don't necessarily have to go and do that accounting course so that you can learn accounting, so that you can become a good person who can do a balance sheet. If you have an accountant friend, there's no need for you to now go and study to take all that time and energy to get a CPA when your friend has already done it and they're doing it anyway. You just need to be able to understand how to impact that person, how to use that person, how to communicate with that person effectively so that they can help you with your accounting issues. You don't necessarily have to go and become an accountant. And that's the other thing that many people, I hear people saying, oh, I'm trying to improve my skills. I want to do more things for myself. I want to go and study this course to grow myself, to grow my capacity. But you forget that around you, there are engineers, there are lawyers, there are accountants, there are plumbers, there are carpenters, there are social media experts. There are all these people with all these talents and skills who are doing these things anyway. Can you tap into those skills and use them for your benefit? Of course, what Social Capital will teach you and what we teach you in the Career Hub is, in order for you to tap into those skills, you need to first be able to effectively communicate to these people, and you also have to be able to bargain with them. No one is going to give you anything for free. No one is going to be there and be like, you think I studied CPA all these years just so that I can give you this course for free? Of course not. What are you doing for me in exchange? And that is where human interaction becomes valuable. And that is where you now need to look at your environment and say, because I know what I have. As Mwenesi, for example, I'll tell you about myself. If you give me a balance sheet, if you give me an Excel sheet to work on, if you give me a PowerPoint presentation or anything to do with a laptop where I need to sit for an hour and do things, we will have a problem because I am not very good with those things. But talking, give me a microphone, give me a Zoom call, give me a group of people to train or to coach, that's my thing, So I know what I know. And like Stanley mentioned, know what your strengths are. If you know what your strengths are, then you can say, okay, this is what I know, this is what I'm good at. But what I need to get me to where I need to go, I don't have those things. When I look at my environment, who around me has the things that I need that will take me forward? Am I in good terms with them? Can I communicate with them? Can I extract that value from the people around me so that they can take me ahead? I have done this plenty times. Whenever I've been in leadership positions, I remember I was the general manager of a multinational one time, and I'd never done anything to do with HR, with accounting, with operations, with systems, with any of those things. I didn't have a marketing degree. In fact, I'm a lawyer by training, but I was shoved into this general manager position, and I had to now quickly make sense of what was around me. But instead of me saying, oh, you know what, now I need to go do an MBA so that I can appreciate what how to manage these people, I simply ask the accountant, listen, accountant, you've done this CPA, you've done all of this work. How about you give me a crash course in tax, in balance sheets, in whatever, so that I can understand? And that cut a whole lot of time from me having to do all of these things. And so I want to encourage everybody to make use of your environment. Obviously, these are just snippets. This is just a snapshot of what we're going to do in the Career Hub, but understanding who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what is available to you in terms of the people, the social capital around you is going to help you make it to wherever it is that you make without you having to spend the kind of money that you otherwise think that you need to have. The third resource within this discussion about resources is time. You know, it's one thing to be able to say, okay, fine, I have the money, I have the people around me, but do you actually have the time? And this speaks to the people who are in jobs and they're doing side hustles, especially in this time of Corona. Now, the good thing is with Corona, you have so much time, guys. You have so much time. And I there's a part in the Career Hub where we talk about the use of time very, very importantly. And that's why it is actually one of the main things in the SMART. It's the T in the SMART. The T in the SMART is time. It has to be time bound. How you spend your 24 hours is not the same way I spend my 24 hours. It's not the same way Donald Trump spends his 24 hours. It's not the same way Wendy spends her 24 hours. And because we spend our 24 hours differently, we have different outcomes. How are you spending your time? Who are you spending your time with? What are you spending your time doing? Is your time spent trying to accomplish those SMART goals, or are you wasting a bunch of it on things that have nothing to do with achieving your goals? I am super ruthless. And those who know me and those who have interacted with me to the point where it might seem like I'm a terrible person and I'm ignoring you, but honest to God, if you, and Wendy knows, she's laughing because she knows we have our struggles and our challenges whenever she's trying to get in touch with me. But it's because Wendy is firmly part of my plans. She's part of my long-term career goals. And that's why I give her so much time of day, because I know that Wendy is an important part of what I'm trying to accomplish for myself. Centonomy is an important part of what I'm trying to accomplish for myself. But if you do not fit in my SMART goals, my 2-year, my 3-year, my 5-year, my 10-year plans, unfortunately, you will have to wait. And this is where the discipline comes in that successful people have. If you do not have the discipline to be able to make sure that you respect the time that you give your SMART goals, that you are ruthless about ensuring that whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, if it does not tie in with helping you move the needle in terms of where you want to go, then please, to the left, or whatever it is that Beyonce says, We don't have the time to waste here. And so respecting your time, which is the critical resource, is another of those things where, as you look at yourself, as you understand your environment, you'll be able to really evaluate, how am I spending my time? Who am I spending my time with? And what am I spending my time on? Right? Again, these are just snippets, but we'll expand a lot of this in the Centonomy Career Hub class. So I've talked about, number one, your incentive. Number two, understanding yourself and the resources available to you. And those resources are the people, your finances, and your time. The third aspect that I really want us to look at is, once you know that you have a certain skill set or a certain gift or a value or a relevant ability or capacity that you can offer to the world, people need to see and hear that thing. It doesn't help that you have this talent, you have this gift, you have these abilities, and no one has access to them. And again, this now speaks to how you spend your time. How are you spending your time on social media? How are you spending your time with the people that are around you? Are you spending your time just entertaining yourself and having a good time? I'm not saying that that's a terrible thing, because God knows I really enjoy myself. This is not me saying don't enjoy yourself. But I'm saying, as much as you're spending your time online and engaging with people, is your skill, is your talent, is your ability, is your capacity being seen and heard by others? Because if it's not, then what's the point of having it? I watched a documentary where I think this rapper 50 Cent was being interviewed, and he said, if you want to make music for yourself, just you sit in your house and listen to it in your headphones, and then you can bump to it and enjoy yourself. But if you want to leave an impact and you want to grow materially, financially, and make an impact to the world, you have to make sure that you put that content out for others to appreciate, for others to buy, for others to engage with. And this has nothing to do with whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, because these are just introvert, extrovert. Those are just how you draw. That's just how you draw your energy. Okay. So before people come and say, oh, but I'm an introvert, Munesi, and I don't know, I'm shy, and no, shyness is shyness. You see, when you're hungry, shyness is not going to become a discussion. Hunger trumps shyness all day. Desire trumps shyness all day. Ambition trumps shyness all day. And if you use the people around you, you'll be able to make the most of it. So for me, making sure that your talent, your gift, your ability, your capacity is seen and heard by the relevant people. Again, the relevant people, because everybody is going to see this thing, but it's not going to be for everybody. All right. And you have to accept that whatever gift you have might not be for everyone. I know sometimes, the things that I say, they're an acquired taste. I get criticized by different people, especially people who are very scientific. They tell me that, oh, Munes, you talk about emotional intelligence, you talk about performance. These are all nebulous things. These are all feelings. There's no factual empirical data around it. That's fine. That's your opinion, but it's not for you. All right. I know who I am for. I know who my content will be received by. So that should not stop me from saying, oh, because a couple of people do not appreciate what I'm saying, I'm not going to put my content out there. I will put my content out there, and whoever is in my target market, whoever this content is relevant for, will pick it up and see value in it and engage me and decide, okay, you know what? Do I feel like paying for this? Do I feel like exchanging something for this with you? And that way I'm able to grow regardless of Corona. In fact, this time of Corona has really helped me as an individual take a step back and appreciate, how can I now start being a brand? And Stanley mentioned LinkedIn, right? I'm a big fan of LinkedIn, but I'm a big fan of anything where you can be seen and heard. I don't care whether it's LinkedIn, TikTok. If you want a TikTok, if you are very good at plumbing, yeah, and you know how to join, fix toilets and fix taps and whatever. Hey, do a short TikTok video on, 10 steps to fixing, a washer on a toilet. That's great. Use the platform, right? Use Facebook, use Instagram, use whatever. It really doesn't matter, as long as people see and hear what your talent or what your skill set is. You stand a better chance of having people buy into your talent, and then you're not a slave. And yes, I must use that word very, very importantly. You're not a slave to your organization, and you're not a slave to the job, because Career Hub is not Job Hub. Career Hub is a journey, and in your career you will have many jobs, many stakeholders, many clients. But if you have it in your mind that you are only for one person, for one company, for one organization, as we say here in Kenya, in Kiswahili, utakufa kisabuni. You will die like soap. Soap starts very big, and then it goes, the more you use it, it goes and it disappears. Okay? So don't die like soap. You have to think of yourself, and this is one of the courses that we teach in module 2 in the Career Hub, when we talk about facing your fears and knowing your strengths. Have an abundance mentality. Have an abundance mentality, because many of us, we think in terms of scarcity. We are afraid. The concept of economics has been drummed into us. We've been socialized to think that opportunities are not available. If the internet has taught us anything, if Airbnb, if Uber, if Facebook, if Google have taught us anything, it is that opportunity is everywhere. The internet has now blown away the concept of scarcity, of oh, I have to be by myself, I have to be quiet, I have to just put my head down and do this job for this one boss, for this master. Those days are gone. I'm not saying don't do the job that you've been paid for. Do the job that you've been paid for so that you can pay your bills. Yeah, I'm not saying let's die hungry because we're trying to be whatever. But if you have a job, enjoy it, do it, go hard on that. But please make sure that it is clear that you are taking advantage of the abundance that the internet has provided. And right now, like we're having here on this Zoom call, before we would have to have this session maybe in a room somewhere in Westlands here in Nairobi, and maybe 10, maybe 30, 40, 50 people might have logged in. There are 108 of us on this call, coming in from all corners of the planet. That's an amazing thing, right? Now, it just means that my audience now has moved from the potential group that I had to now a global audience. The same thing applies to your talent. Do not limit your talent. Do not limit yourself to thinking that it's just my group of people, my circle of friends. And when we talk about this in the personal branding module, we will show you very clearly how you can expand your audience, your primary, your secondary, and your tertiary target markets. Your primary audience are the ones who pay you. Your secondary audience are the ones who cheer you on, and you need those guys. And your tertiary audience are the ones who make you feel good. If you can expand your audience to make sure that they can engage with your skill, with your gift, my God, like the opportunities are endless. I'm speaking for myself. You know, I'm talking all of these things and I'm really passionate about them because I eat my own cooking. I'm not here trying to sell you something. We wrote the Career Hub based out of our own experiences, and I do everything that we teach in the Career Hub. We do them. I do them religiously, and I am reaping the benefits and the rewards. I'm sitting here, I'm not saying that, you know, it's not, you know, every time someone says, you know, Corona is hard, you know, it's a tough time. Trust, I appreciate that. However, I'm not in that group. Thank you. I'm doing all right because I am applying these principles religiously to the point where if one opportunity goes, guess what? There are 8 billion of us, 7 to 8 billion of us on this planet. We're going to find an opportunity somewhere in those 7 to 8 billion. Right? So my probability is not restricted to a small group in a small corner of Nairobi. I have opportunity across this planet. And that is the mindset of abundance that I want you to make sure that you have. And in this point, make sure that those three things, your skill set, your talent, your capacity is seen and heard by as many people as possible. That way, your chances of your brand being appreciated, your chances of people paying you more people paying you more for what you have will be enhanced. If you want to sit in your little corner and wallow and cry and feel sorry for yourself, do that. But in Centonomy Career Hub, we're not about that life. We are all about pushing the limits and making sure that you grow your personal brand. The fourth aspect for me is really how to manage these people. Now that you've been seen and heard by them, how do you manage them? How do you engage them, right? How do you communicate effectively so that you can get them to the point of trust, okay? And this is where I want you to think from a management perspective of your social capital. You need to lead the people that you're engaging with on a journey, all right? The first step of that journey is awareness. People need to be aware that you exist. I'm a plumber. This is what I do. I have this number of years of experience in plumbing. I have fixed so many bathrooms in my life. You know, I am available to all. You see, and this is the thing about having an abundance mindset. If you are a plumber and you believe that your market is just the estate that you do your plumbing in, fine, good for you. But if you are a plumber and you think of yourself as being able to potentially do plumbing for all the hotels, all the malls, all the corporate buildings, all the, name it, not just in Nairobi, but across the board, in Thika, in Kisumu, in Dar es Salaam, in wherever, you can then start to prepare content that makes people aware that your plumbing services can be available to anybody who has the following. Do you have a hospital? Do you have a hotel? Do you have this? I have done this and I can do this for this group, you know? And you see how it expands your horizon. So for me, the first thing is make sure that you lead your group or the people that you're selling that you're presenting your talent and your gift to. Make sure that you present it to them and they are aware of it. Now, awareness is not enough, because if I'm aware of it and I don't have a hospital, I don't have a hotel, I don't need your plumbing services, I will drop out of the funnel. And so that's fine. But maybe someone who I know who needs that, because I'm aware that you have presented that to me, I don't need it, but I will tell the person who is in my circle, hey, listen, by the way, you want a plumber? I know a guy because I interacted with his content. I experienced it. I was aware of him, and I will refer you to him. So don't be shy about making sure that people are aware. So awareness is the first step of managing that journey. The second step is understanding. You need to teach people how to interact with your content. People need to learn. They need to understand, okay, fine. So you're a plumber. Are you a plumber for just bathrooms only, or can you do interior civil waterworks, or can you fix sewage lines? You know, what kind of a plumber are you? You know, how do we interact with you? Where can we contact you? What are your terms of engagement? Do you need a contract? Do you need upfront payment? make people understand how they can work with you. The third aspect is people actually need to like you, okay? Because by the time you've made them aware, they've understood what it is that you have, they actually need to have some emotional connection to you. And again, that's one of the things that we will teach you in the Career Hub in Social Capital, is how you can create an emotional connection, how you can have good energy that people will want to gravitate to you all the time. People will feel that they're drawn to you. You'll be able to have this charm, this charisma, this warmth. You know, communication, by the way, is 10% what you say, 40% how you say it, and 50% a whole bunch of other things that have nothing to do with what you've said. Your body language, your attitude, your whole vibe, your aura is a whopping 50%. How you dress, how you look, how you make eye contact, how you write your emails, the tone with which you communicate. So all of those things create some kind of impression or positive environment that will make people say, okay, you know what? Out of the 20 plumbers that I've interacted, I like this guy or I like this girl. I want to engage with them because I like them. They feel nice. Don't ever think as a product, as a service. And this is the other thing that we will talk about. You need to think of yourself as a product, as a service. As much as you're a human being, the reason why it's called HR, it's called HR because it's not Department of Human Beings. It is Department of Human Resources. You need to think of yourself as a resource. A resource is a product or a service, right? So when you think of yourself in terms of that, are people able to love you enough or like you enough to engage with your stuff? And out of the 20 plumbers, like I said, if I'm still using the plumbing example, people now need to say, okay, fine. Out of these guys, I have a certain connection. I have a certain feeling about this person. And let me tell you something, guys. Purchase happens emotionally. We like to think of ourselves as logical creatures, as intellectual creatures, as people who are very well, and I'm sure many of the people on this, we're very well read, good job, power to you, you've got your degrees, you've got everything. And I'm sure you like to think of yourself as someone who makes logical, rational, practical decisions when it comes to making purchases. The point is this, we make purchasing decisions emotionally. All right, when all is said and done, and that's why the advertising industry spends billions, if not trillions, globally to make sure that they can connect with people emotionally. Because if people don't feel an emotional connection to your content, to your product, to your service, they will choose the other guy. They will choose the other product, the other service. So you need to make sure that the way you manage your group is you need to be able to form emotive connections, form a positive impression that will allow them to reach into their pockets and buy. The fourth aspect of moving people in this journey of engaging your social capital is they need to trust you, okay? And we spend so much time in the Career Hub talking about trust. Trust is that critical thing. Having a high say-do ratio. You say you're going to do something, imagine you have to do it, yeah? You have to deliver. Make sure that you deliver on whatever it is that you say you're going to do. Having a high say-do ratio contributes to trust. Having good honesty and follow through in your communication has something to do with trust. But another critical thing that makes people trust you is if you underpromise and over-deliver, okay? If you add value, if you get into the habit of constantly adding value, where people come in with a certain expectation, okay, I'm aware what Munesi does, I understand what he's about, how to reach him, how to engage him, I have a positive impression, I feel him, I have a good connection with him, but do I trust him? If I give you more value than you expect, guess what? Not only will you trust me, but you will become loyal. And that loyalty is what we want to accomplish for every single person that comes into contact with our brand, with our service, with what it is that we're bringing. Once people trust what you have to say, what you're bringing to the table, oh, you're done, you're home and dry, because then now it's a question of referrals. And your only job after that is to make sure that you're bringing the energy constantly to keep moving people through that funnel. It's a numbers game, guys. And wealth is created not by putting your head down and just being, I have to have my thing, I have to save and conserve my energy, because again, that is scarcity thinking, right? You need to think abundantly. I'm not saying don't save, because you need to keep your lights on. Imagine your body needs you, yeah, your family needs you. There's some things, and we talk about them in the personal branding and the social capital modules, where we talk about the need to have a bare minimum threshold. And this is the point I'm trying to make. having a roof over your head, having clothes on your back, and having food on the table, these are not accomplishments. I know it sounds harsh, but if you make those accomplishments, if that is your objective, then that is all you will get. All right? If having a roof over your head, putting clothes on your back, and putting food on the table, if that is your end game. Remember, I started by saying winners start with the end in mind. If that is what you're playing for, then that is what you will accomplish 10 times out of 10. But if you treat those as the bare minimum, like you say, okay, you know what? At a bare minimum, I need to have a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food on my table. You will start. That for you is ground zero. Okay. So for you, as someone who's thinking abundantly, you will not spend too much energy trying to get those things, because those things should be like the base from which you operate. And when that mentality, when that switch clicks in your mind, now you can start thinking about bigger and better things for yourself. I'm not saying this is an easy task, and that's why the Career Hub exists, because we will give you the tools to be able to think that way. But baseline is food, shelter, clothing. After food, shelter, clothing, what next? What other things are you aiming for? What other things are you trying to accomplish for yourself? Okay. So please, if on this point about managing your audience, manage them to the point where at least you're taking care of your bread and butter, you're taking care of your baseline, but you have enough in the tank, you have enough in your resources, in your people, in your money, and in your time to be able to say, okay, you know what? I need to create awareness, I need to create understanding, I need to create positive impression and an emotional connection, I need to create trust so that I can over deliver from my promise. And I need to create loyalty, because once you get people loyal to you, once you have a loyal following, and I always say this, even Jesus had disciples. Yeah, you cannot operate in a vacuum by yourself. Everybody needs a squad. Once you have a squad that is working for you, and people like Wendy are part of my squad, then you're good. You will do what it is that you need to do, and you will have the support system to be able to catapult yourself to that success. And this business of being stuck in Corona, Corona is finishing us, it will become a thing of the past. I'm really hoping that we can I want to stop there, because there's so much more that I can say, but I would like to give people the opportunity to interact and to engage. But I want to encourage everybody that as much as this is a difficult time, yes, it's difficult if your thinking is that way inclined, but be positive. Have your SMART goals, but know how you can manage your SMART goals in a realistic way that can move you from a baseline to a point of achieving your objectives. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mwendesi. The comments are really coming. There's so many, but first, I'd like to give Vincent Ochembo a chance to just ask his question, because he said he had a really pressing question and he's going to forget. So Vincent, I'd like to unmute you so that you're able to ask your question. Go ahead, Vincent.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Very, very valuable information right there, Bwana Mwendesi. I feel very, very happy to learn all these info. Actually, I had a question, but now I think with the content that Mwendesi was pouring here, the question has actually evaporated. But I just want to have him maybe echo more on the relevant people should see your gift and talent. And there's something he mentioned about acquired taste. And I've followed a lot of your trainings, Bwana Mwendesi. Could you tell us more about how could we also create a niche and have clients following, like, quote unquote, the acquired taste?
Okay, great question. I actually recorded something about this yesterday. I'll post it on my Get Yours in a short while. There's a big difference between your audience and your clients. Your audience are there to give you energy. They're there to clap for you. They're there to cheer you on. They're not necessarily going to buy. Please keep that in mind, right? Please keep that in mind. And this is the thing that many people think, oh, I put my content out there. I say I am a plumber, but I would expect my day ones, my ride or dies, my friend, my family, the people around me, they don't even buy, they don't even support. They're not supposed to. Their job is to cheer you on. Their job is to give you the encouragement, because every single person who's on a journey, which a career is a journey. If you're on a journey, you need people to cheer you on and encourage you. You need that motivation. We're human beings. You need to be motivated. But the people who pay you are the people who truly look at what you're offering, Vincent, and say, yes, Vincent has this thing. I need this thing to make myself successful. Therefore, I will engage Vincent and ask Vincent, what do you want in exchange for this thing? Vincent, these people don't have to clap for you. They don't have to cheer you on. They don't have to like a post that you have. They don't even have to subscribe to your channel or engage with your content. But if they hear from the people who are cheering from you that, oh, there's a guy called Vincent who has this thing, they will say, okay, do I need this in my life or not? And they themselves will come to you. That is part of what we teach at the Career Hub, where you need to become more valuable by using your audience effectively. Grow your audience and get your clients from that audience. I have so many clients who have never themselves directly interacted with my content, but they are people who are very, they're very astute and they're clever in terms of their thinking, and they will not necessarily cheer me on, but clients will pay you. Clients are not people who are going to necessarily be there to pay you. And in the personal branding module, we segment them into your primary, your secondary, and your tertiary target market. Primary target market are the people who pay you. Concentrate on those people. The people who pay you see a need. They see a need in what you're offering. They might not cheer for you, but they see a need. Your secondary are the people who will clap for you. Oh my God, Mwanesi, you're doing such a good job, but they'll never reach into their pocket and give you a coin. But they will talk about your stuff, right? They will talk about your stuff, and hopefully in that group, there will be people who will pick it up.
That's my take home. Thank you very much. I now have seen the difference between the audience and the clients. Awesome, man. This is, I've attended a lot of webinars, but this one, boom, I appreciate. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Mwanesi.
Karibu. So I'd also like to unmute Frank. Frank has a question as well. Frank, go ahead.
Thank you, Wendy. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, Mwanesi, you spoke really well. I really like everything that you said, especially about the abundance mentality. How does one cultivate that? That's my first question, because I think one issue we have in Kenya is everyone thinks from a point of scarcity or a point of I lack, I don't have, you know, I think you're familiar. Then my second question is, what do you think about globalization and pursuing an international career? I personally want to leave Kenya to discover how things are done in other countries and bring those ideas here. So what do you think of that, and how can one position themselves such that they can actually get that opportunity? Thank you.
Frank Rosafi, the first answer to your question is you just need to come for Career Hub or sign up for it, because there's an entire course, like there's an entire module on that abundance thinking. So if I can just give you a snapshot of it very briefly. The more, if I use an example of being, okay, the example has evaporated, but you're right. We as and it's not just Kenyans, I think it's the world at large. We've been taught this industrial revolution style of education where you are supposed to go to school, learn a skill, develop that skill and exchange it for time, and then you get a paycheck, and then. It's a very linear way of thinking, right? And I'm not saying that, you know, look, I'm a product of the education system, but I have completely rebelled against it and I've created my own education system. Thinking of yourself as an asset, I think, is the first step. And then taking that asset and creating a company out of that asset. So now, instead of me thinking about Mwanesi in terms of Mwanesi being the individual, Mwanesi has the ability to teach people how to become better dressers as an image consultant, or how to perform better if they're athletes or whatever. I need to think of Mwanesi as a business. All right. So the concept, so I don't think of myself as just having a skill that I can exchange for money. I think of myself as an organization, as an enterprise. I have a legal department, I have an accounting department, I have a marketing department, I have an HR department, I have an IT department. I have all these departments around me. And once I have that, how am I using that so that I can get clients? I don't think of the people that I work for or I exchange my skill as employers. I think about them as clients, as customers, because I have a product that I need to sell to these people. So when I think of myself as a business, I'm now putting myself in a different space. And how do you grow? What's the whole basis of a business? A business is set up so that they can achieve profits. How are profits achieved? You have more revenues than you have costs. So I need to manage my costs and increase my revenue opportunities. Really that simple. Okay. And how do you increase your revenue opportunities? Again, it's basically teaching you to be an intrapreneur. Okay. And that's the first thing that's why I'm saying you really need to come to the Career Hub, because an entrepreneur is someone who sees a gap in the market as a business, and they're trying to do what they can so that their business can feed that, can plug that gap, and they can profit from it. An intrapreneur is the same as an entrepreneur, except they're not using a business. They look at themselves as the business. So Wendy, for example, sitting in Centonomy, she is an intrapreneur in Centonomy. So if she thinks of herself as a business, what opportunities can Wendy create from within Centonomy so that she can profit from those opportunities, right? So that she can expand her network, so that she can grow her brand. I mean, right now, before this call, maybe a few people knew about Wendy and had interacted with Wendy, but right now, Wendy's network has grown by 102 people, if I'm looking at the number of people on this session, right? So once you think that way, now Wendy has available to her 102 opportunities to sell her product to sell her, to engage with, to interact with. And if that's one, if I can use that as just an answer, again, like I'm summarizing an entire 4-hour module in the Career Hub, but that's really just the answer. And to your second question, Frank, about becoming an international consultant, you're singing to the choir. I am one, I have been one, I continue to do this, and there's nothing that stops you other than you deciding, when to start. Obviously now, because flights are limited and movement is limited and borders have been closed and whatever, it could be an excuse. But remember, I said at the beginning, if you use that as an excuse, fine, you carry on. LinkedIn is a global platform. Make sure that whatever you have, Frank, as a talent is seen and heard by the people on LinkedIn around the world. It doesn't really matter, right? A need is a need is a need. Research your primary target market. The people who pay you, research them. What is it that they need? And what do you, Frank, have to offer the people in Oslo, the people in Lagos, the people in New Delhi, the people in San Francisco? What do you as Frank have to offer them? Once you understand what it is that they need, please, by all means, put it out there and make sure that they can engage with it.
Fantastic.
Lakini mujivunie kuwa wa Kenya, by the way. Let's not leave our country. Kenya is great.
Yeah, Kenya is awesome. So there's a question from Nyambura. She's just said she has a burning question as well. Nyambura, I am unmuting you. Go ahead. Nyambura?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. This has been such a great session. Thank you so much, Monesi, from all the doom and gloom. I think you've managed to open our minds and change our mindsets. In the beginning, you talked about some of the audiences who you talk to when you talk about performance and emotional and intelligence, and they don't really support some of the things you talk about because they say that they're not scientific. But I beg to differ with them on that part, because I am a psychologist. I know these things are scientific and there are ways that they can be measured. I just wanted to add on to that and, to strengthen that point and for people to see the value in it. Another thing I wanted to know is how to truly harness the power of LinkedIn in Kenya, because like abroad and online, I see so many success stories. But when it comes to using it in Kenya, I don't know, I'm not quite sure. You try to reach out to someone, connect to someone, but it's like, nothing really goes forward from there. I don't know, maybe if you have anything to say about that.
I've got lots to say, but I'll keep it simple. On social media or any social platform, content is king, okay? You need to make sure that you have content, because you can reach out to someone and say, hi, I want to engage with you on XYZ and I want to do this and that, but they will look back. And this is what, remember, communication, one of the things we talk about in the Career Hub, is a two-way street. It's the process of sending and receiving messages in which two or more people achieve understanding. So there's a sender and there's a receiver, and this sender will send a message, the receiver will receive it and give the original sender feedback. So this message feedback loop is communication, but it is devoid of substance unless there is this critical thing called understanding. If the receiver does not understand your message and the sender does not understand the feedback, it's pointless. And how do you gain understanding? By looking at the substance of whatever has been sent. What is the substance of your message? If you send me a message, Nyambura, on LinkedIn, first of all, I'm going to look you up and see, who is this Nyambura? What has she done? What is she currently doing? What has she posted? What is she about? Who is she? Because I don't know her. I need to understand, I need to get to know her. Remember, there's awareness, understanding, positive impression, trust, and loyalty. I can't go on that journey unless I see what content you have. Have you posted anything that is useful and relevant to me as the person who you're reaching out to? Do you have any content that I can engage with? Do you have something that is useful and relevant to me? And if not, you're just a normal, as one of my teachers back in the day used to love using this word, you're just amorphous. You're just an amorphous individual just reaching out from nowhere. We don't know who you are, right? So by the time you're posting, you're reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, develop your content first, develop your profile, have something that is meaty, that is, by the time someone is looking at your profile, they're saying, and let me tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of LinkedIn because again, technology, those are not my things. But recently I got some people to help me. So now I've started writing articles. In fact, I wrote my second article just the other day. I felt very proud of myself. And so I want to now start. But you see on Facebook, on YouTube, kelele, I am there sitting, talking, making a lot of noise, right? But by the time someone comes on LinkedIn, there's not much because I don't use LinkedIn. I'm not looking for a job per se. I'm looking for customers. So because I'm not looking for a job, I've not concentrated on my LinkedIn. But now, because my energy has shifted, my focus has shifted where I am in my life, I now realize that I have to start posting some relevant content because where I am going, there's some people that I am targeting who are a bit more intellectual and they need to read. And these people want to read some stuff. So I said, okay, fine, let me start posting some stuff on LinkedIn so that at least, you know, when these people look me up, they can see, there's a brain behind this guy. It's not just sitting in front of a chair talking. So please make sure, Nyambura, that by the time you're reaching out to people, have some content that is relevant and useful, not to you, to them. Put yourself in their position, i.e. empathize. Empathize with the person that you're communicating with. So yeah, that's what I can say about that. Okay, tertiary audience is really the people who make you feel good. And you need them. You need your friends, your family, they're not necessarily going to cheer for you, but you like spending time with them, you enjoy their company. And you'll find many of us actually brand ourselves and position ourselves for our tertiary audience. And then you wonder why you're not moving ahead in your career, or you're not getting paid, or you're not getting customers, because you're branding yourself for people who will make you feel good. It's fine. You need them because, you know, we're human beings. We need to be holistic. If you read any of the, you know, books on how to be effective, 7 Habits of Effective People, etc., you need your spiritual, your physical, your mental, and your emotional buckets all to be in balance. So if you have those people, they make you feel good. You go to church with them, you hang out with them, whatever. That's fine. But distinguish. People who pay you, people who clap for you, and people who make you feel good are very different.
Okay. Kiragu John says, could you kindly give a short comment about rebranding? And also, because of time, that will be the last question for today. So he says, can you give something small, a short comment about rebranding?
Okay, so rebranding is, for me, again, based on the SMART goals. If we go back to Stanley's session. So if you have a SMART goal, let's say for the age, like, let's say you're 30 years old. Between age 30 and 35, what are your goals? What is your objective by the time you hit 35, okay? If you have that objective and it's very clear, it's SMART, it's specific, measurable, actionable, relatable, and time-bound, relevant and time-bound, then you brand yourself for that objective. But once you hit that objective, maybe now you have a new objective. Maybe now between age 35 and 40, you have a new objective. You have something else that you want to accomplish. So now you go back to the same principles and say, okay, you know what? In this new season, in this objective, who are my audience? Who are my clients? What content do they want to engage in? Where are they? What are the resources available to me to reach them, to manage them, to take them through that awareness, understanding, positive impression, loyalty? And then you now start to take yourself and angle yourself that way. Who I am when I was between the age of 25 and 30 is not the same person who I was between age 30 and 35. It's not the same person that I am now between age 35 and 40, which is, again, to give you a small hint, which is why I've started writing articles on LinkedIn, because the kind of people that I'm targeting between now and age 40, these people are intellectuals, and I need to connect with them at an intellectual level. I've already fulfilled my objective for age 30 to 35. Now I'm in a season of rebranding. So I'm not changing who I am completely, because who I am is who I am is who I am, right? And in personal branding, we'll talk about this acronym. I'm not going to go into detail in it. If you want to know more about it, sign up for the course. It's called Vitals: Values, Interests, Temperament, Activities, Life Goals, and Strengths. I know what my vitals are. I know what my core is, but now I'm using those vitals and tweaking it slightly. So instead of being a guy who likes to help people become better versions of themselves, which is what I was between age 30 and 35, I'm now shifting that to become a gentleman who is concerned about helping people attain impact. You see, that's my rebranding journey. And so that shift from being a guy to being a gentleman, from helping people become better versions of themselves to helping people sustainably achieve impact, that's a different shift. So doing that now, I'm creating new content, engaging a different kind of audience, but I'm still who I am. But sign up, we'll teach you all of these things.
So lastly, Frank asked, so what is the Centonomy Career Hub? You've been talking about Career Hub. So what is it? So that is what Frank is asking. So probably as we wind up, you can just summarize what the program entails, and for those who will be definitely interested in signing up. Cool.
So the Career Hub is a project we started about 6 years ago at Centonomy. I can't believe it's 6 years, Wendy, my goodness.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, wow. And it's really about helping people accomplish certain moves in their life. We started off by saying make boss moves, because there's a difference between a boss and a worker. When you think like a boss, you have more control over your time, you have more control over yourself. So in fact, yeah, perfect. It's here on the screen. These are the modules. It's a 7-week course. Obviously, because of Corona now, and we can't really engage in terms of a classroom setting, we're doing this online. But the first module is about how to make boss moves, how to think like a boss. A general and a soldier think very differently. When you're a general, you're at a different level. You're still a soldier, but you're different. Your perspective is different, and that's what we teach you. We teach you about perspective and mindset. The second one, knowing your strengths. What do you have? What do you have as an individual? Remember, I spoke about your environment, your resources, your talents, your gifts. What exactly do you have? Because we're not all the same, right? But more importantly, how can you use your strengths to overcome your fears? Fear is a very big thing. We fear, and we'll talk about the different emotional ranges, happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, disgust, all these things. But fear is what causes inertia. It stops us from moving forward. I'm afraid. What will they think? How will they take me? All of those things, kill that story. That's what we do. Once you know your strengths, you become powerful, you become confident, and you can move forward. The third one, building a personal brand, self-explanatory. We make you just a complete beast in terms of making use of your visibility and your access to your network. 4, how to manage that network that you've now created the access to, your social capital. 5, how to plan effectively for your career, because imagine that money, that time, those people, the resources that are available to you, you need to know how to manage them properly. Okay, by this time you'll become a leader. People will start looking to you for advice, for guidance, but how do you manage them properly? How do you conduct yourself effectively as a leader so that you can not just be a boss, but be a leader where people actually want to follow you and they don't feel like they're compelled or under duress to follow you? Authentic leadership. And then finally, good God, if there's anything that people need to learn how to do is communicate better. Okay, I'm not the master of super communication, but I believe that with good energy, with a good rapport, if you can engage people effectively and you have effective communication, it's just the icing on the cake to being able to just make that next step in your career and help you accomplish what it is that you set for yourself in terms of your SMART goals. So those are the modules. I have a personal relationship with every single one of those modules because we were part of the team that wrote the course. So and I eat my own cooking. All these are things that I continue to do. So yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys in session.
Okay, just to add on something about the Centonomy Career Hub program. So this is usually 7 weeks and you attend once a week. We have a Thursday class in the evening that is from 6 to 9 p.m. And then we have a Saturday class in the morning that is from 9 to 12. That is midday. The classes are starting on the 2nd of July. And just because today Centonomy is feeling generous and we're really grateful for you guys for waking up pretty early to be in this session, we are going to give you a discount on the registration. So instead of registering at 1,600 for the program, you can be able to register at 1,000 shillings. That's just for today. And the tuition fee is usually 19,600, which you can pay all at once, or you can do it in installments of weekly installments or monthly installments. So if you do wish to register and you do wish to set yourself apart in your career, this is the program for you. You can be able to screenshot the details. Feel free to give us a call or email in regards to the same. We'll be able to share information as well. I'd like to also just thank Mr. Musalia Munisi as well as Stanley Ngugi for gracing us and for all those insights. That was amazing. I really learned a lot. You should see my notebook. It's pretty full. I really learned a lot as well. So thank you, everyone, and we hope to see you in the Centonomy Career Hub program.